Good morning, creators, and welcome to another Uefn tutorial. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to use the Skydome device slash day sequence device. And first thing you're going to do is open up the content drawer, and towards the middle you'll find the daylight sequence device. Place it down, and you got plenty of options as normal. So for the day-night cycle, this basically determines how the time of day plays out. For example, you can have a fixed time so it doesn't change, start at specified time, so that if you set the time up here, it'll start at that time and cycle through. For example, if you're going to make a save the world map, usually it starts at daytime and then cycles through the night and goes back to that daytime. You can do random fixed time, which is just a random time and it stays that way, or random start time, which will start at a time and cycle through. But I'm just going to stick with default for now, and maybe change my time of day. Of course, there's a volume setting, so you can change the volume if you want it to just appear in a certain area. It's kind of like the Skydome device. And there's also sunlight. So sunlight is going to affect how the map is lit up. So intensity could be really bright. You can change the color of it. If I want to do red, for example, maybe I want to turn down the intensity. And enable flare. When you look at the sun, usually there's a flare on higher end consoles or PCs, and you can disable that here, which is really nice. Rotation, you can change basically an offset of where the sun is going to be rotated. So instead of going like directly up, it can go from the side, and the daylight cycle could be like more flat, I guess. And so you can use that using these rotations. And next we have fog. So the fog is a pretty cool thing. You actually have two fog components, which is a pretty big deal. Density is going to be how dense your fog is, of course, and you can change the color of the fog. Height fall off, which is a really neat feature, in my opinion, is basically where the fog stops. So if you increase this, it starts lowering the fog. You'll see if I were to increase the density, you'll see there's only fog down below. There's not really fog up top, so you can get kind of layered atmospheres using this. There's also directional and scattering color, which is basically related to the sun. And max opacity is going to be basically how translucent it is. And of course, you have a second fog element, and you can change the density of that. So if you want to have like a slightly dense fog, you can change the offset of it, which is basically where it's going to be located, and the fall off, which is another similar aspect. Pretty simple to deal with. And then sunlight volumetric scattering is related to this, but this is directional scattering, and this is volumetric. So that's how fog works. I'm just going to disable it for now because I don't really need fog. The sky, which is going to be one of the most used elements, is going to basically change how the sky looks. So for example, if I want to change the sky gradient blend, I can increase this, and you'll see it blends to whatever colors I have set here. For example, if I want to have this as pink, this as red, and this as orange. That is not orange. This is orange. We are going to increase the gradient, and you'll see we got a nice gradient here. Goes from pink to orange. Of course, you can blend it a little bit more if you want to make it more subtle. And you also have sun size, which is basically just going to be the sun, like the size of the sun. Pretty obvious. I mean, I don't need to explain that. Sun intensity is the ring around the sun. So I can turn it down, it's just a ball in the sky, or turn it up and it's just like way too bright. Sun color doesn't affect sunlight, so this is a pretty important distinction. It's just the color of the sun. If I want to make it pink, for example, the sun is pink, and you can blend it so that it turns fully pink. There's also moon size and moon intensity. So let's find nighttime. There it is. We're going to increase the moon size. Moon intensity is just how bright it is. And of course, moon color, you can change the moon color to whatever you want. It's currently still Earth's moon, which is a little disappointing, but you know, that's okay. Moon halo size is the ring around it, so you can increase that. If you want to have a whole halo around it, intensity is how bright that halo is going to be. And of course, star brightness is the stars, so you can have the stars here, or you can make them like really bright, if that's what you want. Of course, clouds, last feature, really helpful. Let's go back to daytime, just so we can really see this feature. That's not daytime. This is daytime. Okay. One thing to note is the stars apparently appear during daytime, which is just kind of strange. That's just one thing you should probably note. For clouds, light color is basically what's on top of the clouds. It's relative to the sun. For example, if I turn this red, you'll notice there's a red hue on top of the clouds. And then shadow color is what's below the shadow relative to the sun, of course. If I want to make that white, I can. If I want to make that blue, I can. And that's how that works. Lighting brightness is basically how bright the lighting will affect the clouds. So I generally recommend turning that up. Coverage is going to be how many clouds there are, essentially. And so they become thicker to the point where it's like fully cloudy and you can't really see anything. Or you can turn it all the way down and there's no clouds. Size is basically how the clouds are dispersed. So if I have a really large size, the clouds are really huge. If I have a really low size, you'll see the clouds are smaller. They're pretty evenly distributed, so it looks a little bit wrong, I guess. Opacity is how translucent the clouds are. So if I turn this down, you'll be able to see through into the surrounding atmosphere. So for example, if I have full coverage, I can see through that, but if I turn the opacity up, I can't. So opacity determines that. Let's just turn it up a little bit. And speed is basically how fast the clouds move. And of course, direction is going to be where the clouds are going. So that's how you use the day sequence device. If you found this tutorial helpful, please consider subscribing, leave a like, and I hope you'll have an amazing day. Good luck creating.